Whether you're brand new to ARPGs or stepping into the Path of Exile series for the first time, you're likely wondering which class is best for beginners. I'm Joey with Esports GG, and let's find out what's the best starting class so you can make an easier decision at the character selection screen. Our pick for the best starting class in POE 2 is the Mercenary. This is a new class in the Path of Exile series, and it's arguably one of, if not the best overall class right out of the gate in early access. Given how strong some of the enemies and bosses are across all three acts in PoE 2, beginners should look for a class that allows them to keep a solid distance while still being able to deal damage. The Mercenary wields a crossbow that basically acts as a long-range rifle while having several choices of ammunition accessible at all times. With your crossbow, you can stay a few meters away from hordes of enemies and bosses, making it easier to predict attacks and dodge out of the way. While you're keeping your distance, you can deal massive damage as a Mercenary. You start out with basic crossbow bolts that need to be reloaded after 7 shots. You can mash the keybind for the bolts and fire them fairly quickly though, so single enemies shouldn't be an issue at all. As you level up, you'll gain access to new types of crossbow bolts that deal different types of damage. For example, you can use the fragmentation shots to deal huge explosive AoE damage at close range. Then swap to the permafrost shots and freeze any chasing enemies with a single hit. If there are enemies left over, you can easily change to the regular bolts and finish them off one by one. To help aid you in combat, the Mercenary's passive ability skill tree gives you access to several kinds of upgrades. You can follow the route of boosting your attack speed and projectile damage, or choose to boost your armor and evasion ratings as well as your stun threshold. The attacking route also has choices to boost your own stun rating, allowing you to stop enemies in their tracks and open them up to free damage. The attributes you want to increase for the Mercenary are strength and dexterity, with a main focus on dexterity. Most of your gear will rely on a high dexterity rating, and the stat also gives you better accuracy with the crossbow as you put more points into it. Intelligence and strength shouldn't be totally ignored though, as they give you extra mana and life, but dexterity is where your bonuses will really come in. Overall, the Mercenary is a fairly easy to understand class that can deal massive amounts of damage once you get used to the crossbow. Swapping to different ammo types and knowing which attacks are best for certain situations is how you'll eventually master the class. The Mercenary has enough HP to survive close range attacks from enemies, but also enough finesse to stay on the outskirts of an arena and deal damage from afar. However, if the Mercenary didn't sound like something you want to play, or you're a little more experienced with ARPGs, then we have another recommended starting class to offer. The Monk is a fantastic class with access to a ton of fun skills. You won't kill enemies as quickly as you could with the Mercenary, but over time, the Monk gains access to huge AoE skills that can wipe out enemies in a flash. The Monk offers 2 distinct build routes, one that uses lightning damage and the other utilizing frost damage. Your main weapon is a quarterstaff that can be outfitted to deal multiple types of melee and elemental damage. There are also air skills that make use of stun damage to daze enemies, making them extra vulnerable to other attacks. However, one of the air skills is called Tempest Bell, and it allows you to place down a large bell that can be hit repeatedly to deal damage to any nearby enemy. You have to perform a combo with your quarterstaff for the bell to be placed though. The bell also takes the form of elemental damage applied to it, so you can pair it nicely with your lightning or frost skills. Overall, the Monk is a slightly more challenging class than the Mercenary, but it's also a little more rewarding. Learning how to synergize your skills with the Monk is what Path of Exile is all about. And that does it for our video on the best starting class in PoE 2. Did you choose the Monk or the Mercenary? If you did, let us know how you're getting on and what build you're using down in the comments below.